Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another episode of Deconstructing the Beatles. I'm Sam.
I'm Jake.
And just because we're out of studio albums doesn't mean we're out of Beatles songs.
Whoa.
I mean, we're getting close.
Yeah.
There's only 2 episodes left, and this is one of those 2. We're covering the Past Masters. This is, of course, Volume 1, as the episode title suggests. The songs are released from 1962 and through 1965, because as we've alluded to on the show, there was a bunch of songs. I mean, albums were really just waits between the next single. It was what the filler tracks were really on, and the Beatles really revolutionized the album as an art form.
Yeah.
Having said that, yeah, if you noticed, we haven't talked about songs like I Want to Hold Your Hand, I Feel Fine, Hey Jude, all those non-album singles. So, yeah, we're going to dive right in and just talk about the first wave of them. Again, these were from 1962 through 1965. Yeah, I mean, you've heard us gab about those periods of Beatles history.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear us talk about how they make it big in the U.S., though, this week.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. You got anything before we...
That's going to be a ball.
Yeah. You guys are going to be at the edge of your seat for that? Oh, the Beatles made it big in America? I didn't know that.
Oh, my God. Yeah, man. 62 to 65. It's looking over the track list before we did this, I was amazed. You know, there's a lot of tracks in those 3 years that they pump out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got an EP on that list, so there is that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first track, we've already technically talked about, because it actually was included on an album, but they have the single version. It's Love Me Do.
That's right.
Which is the version that doesn't have Ringo Starr on the drums.
Yeah.
It's got Andy White. So, because as we alluded to in our very first Deconstructing the Beatles episode, George Martin wasn't satisfied with Ringo's drumming, and so he enlisted a session drummer to do it for the single. And that's, I mean, from then on, Ringo was always like on his fucking game.
Yeah,
because
he wants to prove himself.
Yeah, he was pissed, as I think any musician.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like they finally ask you to join the band. You've been playing with them, and then you go in to record your debut album, your single, and they're like, no, not you.
Yeah.
So.
Especially all the controversy, the Ringo Never, Pete Forever.
Yeah.
So he's just like, oh, come fucking on, like the producer for their first, like, real serious gig.
Yeah, and, like, Ringo's the guy who's, like, been doing it for years. You know, he's the older guy in the, of the other 3, and, had been touring with, was it Rory Storm, the Hurricanes?
Yes.
So he was like a veteran of music at this period. So he had to be basically told, like, you're not playing on this. Must have been a fucking buzzkill.
Yeah, kind of like Butch Vig having Dave Grohl use a metronome for early in the Nevermind sessions.
Yeah,
just got to be the ultimate in dick punching.
Dick punch.
So the second track is From Me to You.
Oh, I thought it was called Dick Punch.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure like that was Lennon's working title.
Yeah, sure.
And then George Martin and Brian Epstein were probably like, "Oh, come on, mate, you can't
No, for fuck's sake, Jesus fucking Christ,
come fucking on, Johnny, we can't do this." It was it hit number 1 on the charts.
Yeah.
From Me to You. So the Beatles, when Beatlemania erupts in the UK. Obviously, they get shit tons of fan mail. Shitloads.
This, not to cut you off real quick, but like this song, like is the might be like there's a couple songs that we'll talk about, but this is one of them where it's like the epitome of like the cutesy Beatles.
Yeah, Mop Top Beatles, Beatlemania
like,
Beatles,
cutesy Beatles. Yeah. Yeah,
and this, I mean, it was a song they had written as kind of a From Me to You, as kind of like a response to all the fan mail they got, and it worked out. It was a hit single. The other one was a B-side, Thank You Girl, which was also kind of like a thank you to all their
Thank you, girl. And like the one guy Beatle fan's like, the fuck?
Yeah. Phil Collins.
Yeah. The fuck, dude.
Yeah. Elvis Costello. I'm thinking about like all the people that were in the UK listening to the Beatles in like 1963.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil Collins is in fucking A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
As an extra, but he's there.
Yeah, he's like the guy.
Yeah. The next one though, I mean, I know we're kind of glossing over these, but I'll be honest, this is a period, like, I enjoy the Beatles. I mean, this is like the second
time
that you and I have sat down and talked about the Beatles at length.
Yeah, our first podcast was called Meet the Beatles.
Yeah, yeah. We weren't them.
No.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think I know what you're going with. Like, this volume here has got some interesting stuff, but the more interesting stuff to talk about, I think, as like breakdowns and songs and music and studio time and instrumentation is volume 2.
Yeah.
You know,
this is all very straightforward stuff. If you heard those early episodes, like those early albums, we kind of gloss over the actual recording and the actual history behind the songs on Please Please Me, Beatles for Sale, and With the Beatles. I go into depth on A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of
because that's my favorite album.
I think it's more of where the Beatles were at, which we were more interested in, you know, and the American consciousness at the time. That was the more interesting point to focus on because, you know, they're really breaking into the U.S. market, you know, with those early albums.
Yeah. Now this one, the next one though, having glossed over those first 3 tracks, is the winner. It's their highest charting. It's their best performing single in the UK, and it was the best performing single of any recording artist in the UK until Mull of Kintyre by Wings off London Town.
Yes.
She Loves You.
It's the song that got me into the Beatles.
This and I Want to Hold Your Hand, like so many kids in 1964, though the song comes out in the UK first in 1963.
Yeah.
This
is it.
This is it. This for me is the definitive early period Beatles song.
It's another example of start with a little drum fill, and it starts with the chorus, which is just, again, seems obvious now, but again, you know, they're starting with the chorus, like Can't Buy Me Love as well.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly, like I have a terrible memory, a really terrible memory. I have a terrible memory, but the thing that I remember most in this world is walking down the stairs, and I started singing She Loves You because my grandfather had bought, who was a big Beatles fan, had bought me the anthology volume 1 in 95, and I had heard, you know, an outtake version of She Loves You, and it was just stuck in my head and I couldn't get it out. And I remember I stopped on the stairs, I was like, oh, here we go.
I think it's the yeah that does it.
For me, the the yeahs are huge too, and the who, but I think it's just the idea, and again, this is like little Jake, fathead Jake, listening to it going, fathead man. This is a song where the narrator is not in love with the girl. The girl is not in love with the narrator. The narrator is passing on information to you, the listener.
Which I think was a Lennon idea.
Which is so cool.
No, it was a McCartney idea because Lennon was like, if it was just me, I'd write about myself.
Yeah. Well, again, that sums up them perfectly. Yeah. You know, Lennon's writing about himself. McCartney writes about characters. Yeah. He writes about himself as well, too. But characters, I think, for more so with McCartney.
Yeah.
And that is something that, like, I couldn't wrap my fat head around really listening to it. And you realize, like, holy crap, that's such a cool little idea.
Yeah, the idea that, you know... And I think that was lost on me as a kid. Like, it's She Loves You, not She Loves Me. Yeah.
It's just like affirming, like, hey, man.
Yeah, it's like he's so happy over his friend getting some, like, you know, person, like, all...
Do you think how many kids do you think listen to this and got the courage to, like, go up and talk to that girl in, like, elementary school the next day and they were like, fuck off! Fuck off!
And they go home, listen to I'm a Loser.
Yeah, I'm a loser. Yeah.
And I'm not what I appear to be.
Everyone's favorite Beatle then, if that happened to him, was Lennon then.
Yeah.
Or maybe, who knows? What if this sparked romance that lasted forever? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm sure it did.
A love that lasted years. Oh, for no one.
Yeah, the song about, like, the inevitability of breaking up and just putting the makeup on and being like, we're fucked.
Yeah, this is gonna happen. I mean, this is
my favorite Beatles song.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Sobbing into the French horn. That French horn represents the blubbering that you're doing as you're both putting on your makeup and putting on your suit and realizing it's over. We're just going through the motions.
Why are we still doing this?
You lock yourself in the bathroom and just sob. Honey, you coming to bed in a minute? And that song's like quick as shit too, which is a bummer, but... Yeah, that's For No One, which is not on this album at all.
No, it's not even in this period.
Yeah, he hadn't written it yet. Yeah. That relationship was getting ready to get started, and he'd be like, "This is so great," and then no, it's gonna end horribly.
Yeah, and then you cheat on her multiple times.
Yeah. Oof.
But the She Loves You though.
More optimistic.
Back when love was innocent and pure.
Yeah.
You know, because they wrote this at McCartney's father's house, and he was like, his father, Mr. McCartney, had been so
the senior McCartney.
Yeah, had been so. Can Paul come out to play? Had been so kind of like fed up with like Americanisms. He's like, Paulie, couldn't you just have it be? She loves you. Yes, yes, yes. And then him and Paul and John just like fell laughing on the floor. They were just like, no,
that's goofy, Mr. McCartney.
That just wouldn't work.
Yeah,
I might not love the Beatles if they had called it "She Loves You." Yes, yes, yes.
It's like Daniel Bryant from wrestling. Yeah. She loves you. Yes, yes, yes. Oh boy. Well, yeah, me going down the stairs going, "She loves you." Yes, yes, yes. I'd be like, nah,
no.
Just give me the Stones.
Yeah, yeah. Give me those Doors. Yeah.
Is that supposed to be the Doors?
Yeah, well, it does that in Roadhouse Blues.
I know. Yeah, I thought you were going, yeah, which is not the Doors.
That's not the Doors at all. I don't know where that comes from. I know it's from a song.
I think it's from the Madden pause screen in like Madden 96 or Madden 2005.
You're probably right on just both counts.
Because I
they're different.
I have a lot of Madden games.
I only have NCAA football 2007.
There'll never be another one. There'll never be another one of those again. I have Madden 95. That's the earliest I have for Game Gear.
Nice. The next one is another song we're just gonna fucking gloss over. It's "I'll Get You."
Next.
That was a song. That was another that was a B-side for fucking. You would think that the B-side for "She Loves You" would do a lot better, but it didn't. So
well, because they were just like keep it on the A side. Keep it on the A side.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Detroit Rock City and Beth for some reason.
Yeah. And double A sides hadn't become really a thing yet. They really pioneered the idea of a double A side because if you think about it, a double A side commercially is like the dumbest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah.
But that was at that point it was an ego thing. The next one is
there's somebody who's been listening to this entire thing to hear us get to that track and be like, "Oh, that's all you're gonna fucking say? You spent 30 minutes on Rocky Raccoon." Anyway,
I would have glossed over.
I spent 30 minutes on Rocky Raccoon. Sam just went next, Mr. Man.
The next could have been a Miz, a Miz,
yeah,
the Miz.
Nah.
Next one is the song that breaks them. They break good in the U.S. off the next one.
Uh-huh.
So I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Ooh,
it's big.
It's a big one.
And you know what the city that played the first that played it on the radio first?
What?
DC.
Ah.
It was some 16-year-old fan who, if I did fucking research for this, I'd be able to tell you. Because she's in the 8 Days a Week documentary.
Oh, she is? Cool.
Like Ron Howard interviews her about, because she's the one.
I still need to watch that.
It's great. The, out on Vudu soon. But I had to go to her friends and see it on Hulu. Anyway.
I got rid of my Hulu, so I wasn't able to watch it, so I have no problem buying it when it comes out on Vudu.
Oh, yeah. I'll pick it up. But so she was visiting friends or family or, again, I didn't really do that much research.
Yeah,
but the over on the other side of the Atlantic, because you can't really buy Beatles albums or singles on our side of the Atlantic at that point.
Yeah.
And she gets a copy of I Want to Hold Your Hand, and she convinces a local radio station to play it. She even gets to introduce it in December of 1963. And then if you think about it, the Beatles are over here as early as they're playing at the Washington Coliseum in the early months of 1964. So it was that within a week of her playing it, it had already shipped over 250,000 copies in the United States, which is fucking bananas. Yeah. This is a song, I Want to Hold Your Hand. This was a song, speaking of Jane Asher, the subject of For No One.
Yeah.
The
ski trip from hell.
Yeah. They, God, how passive aggressive would that be?
Yeah. Well, he just wrote it in the bathroom when they're on a ski trip.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. Even though they date for another 2 years.
Yeah. Isn't she, which Vincent Price movie is she in? The one about the Mask of the Red Death? Isn't she in one of the,
in one of the Hammer Vincent Price films?
Yeah.
I know she's in one called Hands of Stone or something like that from the 70s. Anyway, yeah, so...
Wait, Hands of Stone with Robert De Niro?
Oh, not Hands of Stone.
Yeah.
My bad, yeah.
You're Roberto Del Rey.
Yeah, you're Roberto Del Rey.
In 30 seconds, Roberto Del Rey changed my life. Bing!
Yeah.
Oh, man. I haven't seen that movie, so I can't say anything else about it.
The extreme zoom when he's just looking to
yeah. I remember that scene every time. He looks over at Sugar Ray.
At Usher.
Yeah. Usher. They use his full name in the trailer, in the credit, because the director was like, not Usher shit.
It's like they couldn't call Andre 3000 and Be Cool.
Yeah.
They could, but they didn't.
Just use your...
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on, man. Come on. Andre Benjamin. But I Want to Hold Your Hand's huge. It's
Yeah.
They played on the Ed Sullivan Show, obviously. It's their first number one single in the
Hand
US.
claps, baby.
Hand claps. It's so successful here that all their previously released singles and albums just fucking skyrocket in kind of retrospective sales. They wrote it in Jane, because Paul, I guess I don't know if it's a British thing or if Jane Asher's parents just didn't care that the guy that was like banging their daughter on the reg lived with them, because he was living with them at the time and he had just moved in, and him and John Lennon wrote it there.
Yeah.
So another one of those like She Loves You, where they're basically, as they put it, writing eyeball to eyeball, just sitting there writing to each other in like a close space or like next to each other on the piano. It's a winner.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's one of the best. It's up there, like you said, like with She Loves You is like, important Beatles songs. I was gonna say like Primal. That doesn't make any sense.
Primal Rage.
Yeah, Primal Rage. Yeah, the rage of Lennon McCartney on "I Want to Hold Your Hand" is ferocious.
Yeah.
No, but it's huge. It's
and again, very love, so innocent, so pure.
It is, yeah.
The next one is the B side for "I Want to Hold Your Hand" is "This Boy."
This boy wants you back again.
The crazy thing is, for me, the thing I remember the most, or what I think of the most when it comes to "This Boy," George Martin made an instrumental arrangement of the song that plays during A Hard Day's Night. And so that's always kind of where my mind goes. It's weird for me, despite however many times I've heard "This Boy," honestly not that many to be fair. But when I hear words set to it, it's like,
I like Lennon's vocals on this a lot.
It's very good. A lot of these songs, including "This Boy," are very and we made this comparison in the earlier episodes. They sound right at home at a Silver Diner. If you heard it at a Silver Diner, you'd just be like, oh.
I mean, I think the live versions I've heard of this, like on anthology stuff, Lennon is very good at really hamming up the vocals on this, like really going for it. I think he knew, the girls really dug this one, so it's good.
They love it.
Yeah, man. I don't know if I had mentioned this before, but on the Pete Townsend autobiography I read, the Who opened for the Beatles.
Yes.
And he was like, and like Pete Townsend like fucking loves the Beatles. Like he talks a lot about Sgt. Pepper being, instrumental to Tommy and blah blah blah, and like, loving Paul McCartney and stuff. And hanging out with George Harrison, all that good stuff. Hell, the Ringo Starr's kid is their drummer. He was like, I don't understand how they didn't crack from the insanity of the fans. He's like, they had fans, but the Who were like, we never really had like screaming girls. It was always more of like that proto-punk stuff happening, the Teenage Rebellion. But he's like, to see the sea of girls screaming and like how that they never lost their cool, they never cracked. And he said that like he was there, like after the show was over, like the halls would smell of like piss. Because the girls would like piss themselves because they were like freaking out about the Beatles so much, which is like insane. It was really fascinating to hear about someone who was there who wasn't a Beatle, to hear from the outside. And I think Roger Daltrey talked about it too. He's like forget about their talent for a second, which is like off the charts. He was like, their ability to stay sane was like one of their greatest strengths, because I think anybody else known in that situation would have just gone insane. I think their humor really helped too. That Liverpudlian humor.
Yeah. Very, very dry.
Mm-hmm.
What? Watch A Hard Day's Night if you want to get that.
They just went, what?
What?
Swat. Greatest hits of bullshit.
Isn't that all this show?
Yeah.
Just Geek Out in general is
bullshit.
Bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not true. It's bullshit. But we really do love the Beatles.
We do.
I assume Chris really loves Laserdiscs. You really love Lethal Weapon and Kiss. I could go 50-50 on Josh like in Resident Evil.
Hey, oh, wait.
The next two, it's like Five Nights at Freddy's 4. There's a grandfather clock. The that's a scary as shit game. The next tracks are kind of a bit of a curio. The record label EMI didn't think that English language tracks would perform well in Germany.
Yes.
So they made the Beatles re-record their two biggest singles at the time, I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You, in the German language. Okay. So you got this compilation features Komm, gib mir deine Hand.
Yeah.
And
the other one is
she liebt
1, 2, 3, 4. She liebt dich, ja, ja, ja. She liebt dich, ja, ja, ja. She liebt dich, ja, 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 ja.
She liebt dich.
That's all I wanted to get to. I just want to get to this point. I'm good, man. I'm out. See ya.
Footsteps. Yeah, it's. I mean, to their credit, they don't sound. Even though you can kind of tell their hearts aren't in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound bad.
No, I mean, again, no one. I mean, that's crazy to think they did that.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
At that point, like international artists performing well internationally, just was kind of unheard of. Because UK, US, same fucking language, obviously, and yet by 1965, they're touring the fucking planet. They're going to the Philippines, they're going to Japan, they're going to all those places. So it's kind of wild that, I mean, to be fair, they're also performing in like France and they cut their chops in Germany. So you would think that they would know, but I think the record label just wasn't sure. I mean, to the record label's credit, those two singles perform moderately well in Germany, but at this point, here we are, 50 years later, and they're just kind of like a bit of a curiosity. It's like, oh, if I ever wanted to listen to the Beatles sing "She Loves You" in German, I can do that.
Yeah.
The next couple tracks are off the Long Tall Sally EP.
Yes.
The only EP that the band technically released. No, I guess they did a couple EPs for Magical Mystery Tour, but it was released as a full studio album in the U.S., which became the official release, in the subsequent years. But their first EP, their first real EP, not counting the Christmas stuff, which we won't get into, because it's really just them like shittily singing Christmas carols and thanking their fans for all the fan mail.
Yeah.
Those exist though. There's like a bunch of Beatles like Christmas releases, but this one is it's Long Tall Sally,
great
cover of a Little Richard song,
which definitely inspires another track we'll talk about down the road on the Past Masters track list. But I love Long Tall Sally. Just of course the original, I think McCartney was kind of christened by Little Richard as the one white boy who could do the voice justice, which must have felt good for Paul McCartney because he was obviously a huge fan. I remember when I saw the Abbey Road on the River, and there was a band, I think they were just called Jukebox, and they were from Cuba, and they just covered like great songs, not just Beatles songs, but songs of the era, so like Long Tall Sally. And if you want to experience like the most honest rock and roll you can ever hear, go to a show where somebody plays like Long Tall Sally and just blisters on that song. It's one of the greatest. Long Tall Sally is one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever written. I think so much of anything you like about rock and roll stems from Long Tall Sally.
Yeah. No, it's just
also Predator.
Yeah, it plays in the helicopter when they getting inserted into whatever nondescript Latin American country they're getting,
Yeah,
too.
I was playing Blood Dragon, one of my favorite games of all freaking time, the Far Cry game, and they mimic that where you're in the chopper with like an M60 like laser gun taking out like a fortress, and they're playing Long Tall Sally.
Does somebody call themselves a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus?
Nah, I wish. That would have been two on the nose. Two on the nose.
Do you fight a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus?
No, you don't. It's a bummer. But you have the greatest tutorial in video game history.
I remember. Yeah.
So.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
The next one is I Call Your Name.
Yeah.
It's a Lennon track.
Yeah.
Also on the Long Tally
Sally.
Long Tally Sally EP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean next. So
it's fine. I mean, we don't have everything for everything,
Yeah. It's Lennon writes it. God damn it. You know what else he writes? Fucking Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Listen to that instead.
Yeah.
And the one person whose favorite Beatles song is I Call Your Name quietly goes home, takes 2 Alka-Seltzers, and dies.
Yeah.
The next track is Slow Down. Also on the Long Tall Sally EP. It's another cover. It's a Larry Williams cover. Lennon sings it as well because I feel like Lennon at this point is still very much the dominant force in the band.
Yeah.
And will be for really until like 1966. You could argue Rubber Soul, but it's still 50-50 between him and McCartney with Rubber Soul. And McCartney only just edges Lennon out on Revolver in terms of songwriting credit.
Yeah.
But the No, I mean it's another kind of country west. They really have those blues country western things. I mean, the next song is a Carl Perkins cover. It's Matchbox, though. None of your typical Lennon, McCartney, or Harrison don't sing Matchbox.
Hey, hey, hey.
It's sung by Ringo Starr.
Of course.
When I saw Ringo Starr, it rounds out the EP too. We won't be talking about Long Toss that EP after this. Well, who knows? Maybe we will, just to like shit on it or something. But the when I saw Ringo in June with the All Star Band, the star with two R's, the opening track that they played for their set was Matchbox.
Oh, interesting.
So I was like, oh, we're going fucking.
Some guy just yells out, "Fucking Past Masters!"
yeah, Long
Yeah, Ringo's like, "Anybody here on Past Masters Volume 1?"
Yeah. One of my favorite, it's during the Shea Stadium concert, because, we've mentioned this on the show before, Capitol Records, they didn't just re-release the Beatles albums, at least for initially. They made their own versions, like Meet the Beatles' second album, so on and so forth. And when when Ringo's introducing a song during the Shea Stadium concert, he's like, "I think this one's on Beatles 6. I don't know. I haven't got it."
Yeah.
And then, it's just because that was the entire thing that inspired them to kind of do the Butcher cover, because they felt that Capitol Records was butchering their albums, and then the record label was like, for Yesterday and Today. And so that's why you get the pictures of them bored sitting on suitcases instead.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, it's lovely. It's lovely. And Matchbox is a fine song. I mean, it's a good cover. All the Beatles covers.
They do covers well.
They do. I mean, because that was the backbone of their live sets, even going into like 1964, because they had to scramble to write new stuff to keep up with the demand. The next one's huge, though. It's huge. It revolutionizes what that thing is. Feedback.
Bow. A total accident.
It is. So during the Beatles for Sale sessions, McCartney puts his bass or something by one of the crate amps, one of the standing amps, and it creates a feedback noise, and Lennon liked the sound of it.
Yeah, you can hear them like in the background when it happens, like going, "The fuck." You don't hear them say "what the fuck," but like you can basically hear them go, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Because they'd never heard that before.
And Lennon persuaded George Martin, the producer, to include the feedback as the intro to the song. I'm, of course, talking about I Feel Fine.
Mm-hmm.
So the Beatles had written 8 Days a Week as kind of a made-to-order A-side single for the Christmas market in 1964, but none of the band particularly likes it. They never actually play 8 Days a Week while they're a band live, which is kind of, and then, of course, their documentary about their touring days is called 8 Days a Week. I guess A Hard Day's Night was taken. You could have called it. I suck at coming up with titles.
Yeah. You could have called it This Boy Wants You.
Why did you just call it the Ticket to Ride?
I don't know.
Ticket to Ride, Ron Howard. Fucking. Yeah. So I Feel Fine. So they primed 8 Days a Week to be their A-side single for, and it even on Beatles for Sale, it still hits the top of the charts, which is kind of wild. But so when Lennon writes "I Feel Fine," they were like, "Oh, this is our A-side single. This is what we should lead with," and that's how it wound up as a non-album single. And 8 Days a Week wound up on that other song.
Yeah, it's a great guitar track, great opening.
Oh yeah.
First time I ever heard the song was my dad had made a mixtape. And to my surprise, I didn't think he liked the Beatles, but this is one of the songs that was on it. And I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. It really. Do you like? Okay, let's ask the same questions the Beatles were asking themselves.
All right.
Do you prefer this or 8 Days a Week?
This.
Okay, so you side with the Beatles.
Yes.
I might actually. I mean, I love both songs. I might actually have to go 8 Days a Week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I like the kind of fade in and the, just the.
Sorry, a cable just fell, and I was like, "I hope that's not for something." Because it's just on my foot. No, it's for the phone when I did another thing. Get off my foot. It's great, man. The feedback.
Snakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at this. The feedback's great, man. Again, I got the Who on the brain, so of course Pete Townsend really revolutionized feedback as an art form, and I think this is probably something that blew his mind.
Blues, yeah.
Finish it.
Low.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Think about it this way, guys at home. You only get one more of these, so enjoy it, or just like the lights at the end of the tunnel.
I mean, if they don't enjoy it, why are you listening?
Yeah, I mean, this is like episode 14
Christ almighty.
of Deconstructing. We've been doing this since like November.
I know. I've done the Lethal Weapon one already, and I'm in the fucking Unmake a Bear of Kiss now.
Yeah. You're I guess you just got through their 1982 album.
Yeah. Creatures of the Night.
But the next song is the B-side to I Feel Fine. It's She's a Woman.
She's always a woman to me. Yeah, they wrote the song. Actually, Billy Joel wrote this song for them. It's not even the proper title. Yeah. Got nothing on this one.
It shows up in the movie Help.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
do love Help.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like a Little Richard inspired number.
Oh yeah, I'm remembering it better now.
She's a woman who understands.
She's a woman who holds my heart. Oh, it's a good song. Yeah. Yeah, this song's fucking great. I was thinking of something totally different. Yeah, good stuff, man. I like this track.
Yeah, you can skip over the next one. It's Bad Boy.
Yeah, get rid of that. But back to the other track, though, is fucking great.
Yeah, it's a winner.
Yeah, great McCartney, man. McCartney's the fucking best.
He is the best. He's not my favorite Beatle, but when I saw him, in August, he blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he blew everything. Everything got blown. Nose, other extremities. Again, you've been listening to us. This is the 14th episode. Come on. But the next track is we'll probably skip over this motherfucker too. It's Yes It Is, the B-side to Ticket to Ride.
Yes It Is.
Written by Lennon.
Good.
Sweet. Came out in 1965.
Thrilling.
Yes. Smashing. Capital. I do declare. But the next one is probably... Would you call the next one your favorite song?
Look at my goddamn face. Look at my goddamn face. Yes, bitch. Yeah, that's this. It's the I'm down, dude. It's so good.
You are down.
I'm down, man. I'm down with this track. This song's fucking great. This is the song, McCartney is clearly inspired by, Little Richard, Long Tall Sally. This is the one where, like, Lennon loses his fucking mind during the Shea Stadium show. It's one of my favorite moments where he's just his elbows on the keyboard and he's like, McCartney's spinning around laughing. And they're letting the insanity of it all hit him because they're like, we're done.
Yeah.
This is it. They're playing the fucking, it's through the PA system. They're playing this, we can't hear ourselves. They can't hear us. They realize it's a circus, and McCartney just goes off. I love it. And the fact that someone did a side-by-side where they played, the live track from the Shea Stadium show with like last year or a couple years ago, and he just still slays the song live. Like he still plays it live, and he just still does such a great job on it. Mm-hmm. And it is a vocally demanding track too.
It is. Again, anything inspired or covering Little Richard's going to tax the old vocal cords.
I bet Little Richard heard this and was like, "Son of a bitch."
Because at that point he's on the way out. He's just like, oh,
it's so good though.
It's the winner. It's not my favorite song on the track, but. It was a B-side.
That was me shitting.
Yeah.
Because it was so good of a track.
Yeah. I'm so happy I could shit.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. It's good. It's so good. So Chris sent me a tweet of Ric Flair losing his fucking pants in his mind. I don't like.
He always loses his fucking mind.
I don't like Ric Flair, but that guy is a fucking entertaining as shit. No, it's fine.
It's
this
fine.
Is derailing the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, it was originally B-side to Help. Came out in 1965. So I'm Down is your favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man, because if we're talking about this, volume 1, we got She Loves You. We have these gigantic moments in Beatles history. We have I Want to Hold Your Hand. We have songs like She's a Woman, which, I totally freaking forgot about, but like that's a great little jam too. The cover of Long Tall Sally. Like we kind of joked about it at the beginning, and this is one of the reasons I like doing anything track by track album wise is because it kind of puts things in perspective a little bit, and like, you know, going through this does have, this is a solid collection of stuff, you know. I obviously volume 2 is got a lot more meat to it because it's a more mature band, but this is a young, energetic band, you know, still doing great covers, still writing very much in the vein of their influences. So I think it's an important piece. I think it's, you know, something too, instead of listening to say like their greatest hits, if you're looking to get in the Beatles, check this out. Check volume 1 and 2 of this out. One, because a lot of their greatest hits are on this. They're not going to be on their, you know, studio albums. But I think this would be a really nice way to like capturing, you know, the moments of you know, 62 to 65. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Cheer.
Chew.
But I mean, you know, it's a fine compilation. It's just a period of Beatles that we're not necessarily the biggest on, even though, again, my favorite Beatles album comes out during this period. Mm-hmm. But there's something just so precision. They're so fucking locked on with A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, I mean, it's a collection of B-sides, you know, with She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I Feel Fine in there for good measure, because those were non-album singles. But again, by the time Volume 2 rolls around, even their B-sides are outstanding. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just...
I mean, if you've been listening to this with bated breath, waiting for certain songs, you're like, where the fuck are they? It's the next episode.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. How come you guys haven't talked about We Can Work It Out next episode? How come
Hey
you guys...
Jude.
Yeah, Hey Jude, Day Tripper. Yep, Those are coming. You know my name. I look up the number.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Good evening and welcome to Slaggers. Old Brown Shoe. That's next time.
That is a great song.
Lady Madonna is next time.
Lady Madonna is great.
The Inner Light.
One of my favorite bass lines is an Old Brown Shoe.
Oh, okay.
Check that shit out. That's a great bass line.
What other big ones? Don't Let Me Down.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of. Don't Let Me.
Yeah.
The crash that gives the confidence.
Rain.
Oh. Okay. Old Brown Shoe's got a great bass line. Rain has the bass line.
And drum fills.
Oh my God. Ringo's like, I don't know how I did it. That might be like one of just the tightest.
That's the best B-side they ever put out.
That's one of the best songs they ever put out. I mean, the rhythm section in that is astounding. And it's a bummer there's no live performance of that.
Yeah.
Because if you want to appreciate...
All you get is them hanging out in the garden with sunglasses.
Right. Like slow-mo, like reverse stuff. But like, if you want to appreciate McCartney as a bass player, because I think, you know, a little bit gets lost in the shuffle because, you know, being a Beatle, watch somebody, because, you know, watch a cover, like a really solid cover of someone playing just the bass line or the isolated bass track. The bass in this is astounding, really melodic, almost a lead. And it's really, really solid stuff.
That and Paperback Writer have a very melodic bass groove going.
Yeah. And I really came to appreciate the bass as more than just this, you know, kind of single note, you know, rhythm instrument, and something much more because of guys like Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And, you know, John Deacon. John Deacon.
I just found the thingy.
The Ric Flair?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good, yo.
Oh, man. But yeah, so next week we'll be brimming. Not next week. Next time.
The last time.
Last time,
Until
guys.
in a couple of years we do it all over again.
Yeah. You know, we'll talk about other music things and shits.
Yes.
And of course, you've still, you know.
Yeah. I'm in the dark ages.
Yeah. You're out of the golden
Except for
age.
Lick It Up. Yeah. Lick It Up's the greatest album ever made, of course.
I have no stop. Oh, I like God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Part 2.
Because they wrote it but didn't write it.
Yeah. Anyway, so this has been another installment of Deconstructing the Beatles. We got one last ride.
That's right.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jake.
That's next time. This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, you know, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.